Hey friends, my beloved one-wire alternator, chrome alternator for the small block Chevy in my Model A quit on me. No worky. So I had to put another alternator in. So I grabbed an alternator off the shelf that I had just sitting there and put it in. But the problem is this is not a one-wire alternator, it's a three-wire alternator. So I had to do a little additional wiring. I'll put a link up on a video I did a while back explaining this, but I'm just going to recap it and add a little bit more info to it. This is how you set up a three-wire alternator. Okay, so here are your three wires on the alternator and what they do. First one, this is your hot post, your charge post. This is what you get 12 or more volts out of the alternator to charge your battery. And this main wire is going to go back to the starter, your battery, wherever this goes to charge the battery on the car. The second post we're going to talk about is the number one terminal. Number one terminal is the exciter terminal for the alternator. This is what tells it to go ahead and start charging. On this car, it was actually easy because I have a Speedway wiring harness. There's actually a wire labeled alternator excite wire. Now, if you don't have that labeled, obviously, a lot of cars won't. All you need when you're putting this together is one that is 12 volts keyed power. That's the key here. You can't have it constant hot. You only want it to be hot when the key comes on. The third post, this is your number two post. This is your voltage reference wire. This is what tells the regulator, voltage regulator inside the alternator, how much to put out. Now, on this car, pretty simple. I just have an electric fuel pump. That's about it as far as electronics go. So I just cheat and go easy. This is the simple way to do it. Run your number two post just right off of here, off of the hot post of the alternator to get its reference. It'll put out about 14 volts there. Now, if I'm running electric fans, fuel injection setup, maybe a great big speaker system in the car, a big boom box or something like that, a big amplifier, I'm gonna run it somewhere else into the car to allow for voltage drop of all the wiring that goes on. But for something simple like this, you can get away with just going right there on that post. Here's the problem sometimes, as is the case when I hooked this thing up and fired it up the first time. I fired it up, I was excited, it charged 14 volts, but then I turned the key to shut it off and it didn't shut off. I had to come up and disconnect those wires to get the car to stop. Why? Well, it does that because it gets feedback in the system. That alternator excite wire is providing feedback back into the system and continuing charge to your ignition system. Well, the other thing this wire does, this is your dummy light, your idiot light that would come on in the dash. Now that's what I have to have rigged up in this thing to make this work. I need to put a light somewhere in this circuit that comes on when the key's on. I turn the key on, light's gonna come on because this thing's making the ground. It goes through this thing to the ground in the alternator. Fire it up, start spinning this thing, it gets excited, we lose our ground, the light goes out. That's what the gen or the charge or alt light comes on in your dash from. So I'm gonna put one of those in here because it'll put just enough charge in this system or draw in this system that it'll make my key work. The trick is gonna just be this little guy right here. This is just like a license plate light that I picked up at the parts store, had hanging on my shelf here in my garage. I'm just gonna put this thing in line right with my alternator exciter wire and we'll see how it works. Okay, clearly this is not the final solution for this car. I'm going to demonstrate how this works. It's easy to do because I just unpinned that wire and put that one in line there. But we're going to demonstrate how this works with this car. And then what I'll do is I'll come in under the dash somewhere and put that wire in. So when I turn my key on, you see that light comes on along with my electric fuel pump. Light's on. When I crank the car and get that alternator fired up and it gets excited, that light's going to go out. Light goes out. When I turn my key back to off, the light comes on because it goes to ground inside the alternator. Light comes on momentarily, but then the key goes off to the off position, so it loses power, light goes out. So that, my friends, is the quick and easy way how to set up just a standard GM 3-wire alternator on any kind of car and make it run and make the car shut off when you want it to. And you have an idiot light. If your alternator ever quits working, that light should come on under the dash or wherever you put it. Thanks for following along. Hit subscribe. Hope you liked it. You got any comments or questions, make sure you put them down below.